I'm Ashton Addison from Blockwest Capital for Investment Pitch Media, and today on the Crypto Coin Show we have David Wu Finkelstein, the Chief of Growth at Oak Network. David, welcome to the show, and thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ashton. Really excited to be here.
You're very welcome. Looking through Oak's tech, it looks amazing, and there's a lot of advancements in Web3 that I feel like 2023 is going to be a big year for injecting, sort of the next level of technology into the mainstream, and having a user experience where there's more functionality for people to actually get things done, get them onboarded as well into the world of blockchain. I'm really excited about what Oak is working on, and I would love to just kick it off at the beginning here for those who aren't familiar with Oak Network on what is it that Oak Network does and what is your team building right now, and then we'll dive into all the details.
Yeah, absolutely. So Oak is kind of the catchphrase that I use, the mouthful that I use is cross-chain, cross-lane trustless automation. And what does that mean? So basically that means we have a blockchain that has the ability to schedule transactions in the future, and we bring that technology and functionality to other projects, other smart contracts, other partners in our ecosystem, so that you don't have to be there at the time of signing to then affect the transaction, whether that be based on time or based on a price or whatever it may be in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and this sort of alludes to what I was saying before, is this functionality is almost necessary for everyday finance, and not having to approve every kind of thing, and even so, how we're approving things on MetaMask now is sort of sketchy, where you don't really know what you're approving. There's a lot to be improved upon, but so far in the first 10 plus years of cryptocurrency transactions, this hasn't really existed. But I feel like now's sort of the time that we need it, because more people are getting involved, and we just need this functionality to function. So how long has your team been working on this technology, and where's it sort of at right now?
Yeah, so our founder, Chris, started working on the idea back in 2020. He'd been building in crypto since 2016 or 2017, I believe. And had this idea of kind of a more powerful transaction. So he went to work doing research. It was about 8 months worth of academic research to figure out whether this was even theoretically possible. I think some of the informed users probably of the show, fans of crypto, have probably read Vitalik's alarm clock opcode piece and the difficulties that come around with scheduling things in the future. But it became one of those things that just because it's difficult doesn't mean it's impossible or not worthwhile, right? So. So he went down that path. He validated the idea with the academics, and then came out and we can get this done. So I was brought on as the head of growth at the end of 2021. It's been kind of moving along since then. As far as where we're at right now, we are live on what we call Canary Network in the Polkadot ecosystem called Turing, and that has a time trigger available right now, so that you can non-custodially, without signing over your keys, without locking up your funds, schedule any number, so a recurring amount of transactions or just one transaction in the future. So yeah, that's where we're at right now, and then looking forward to a Oak launch on Polkadot very soon. Amazing,
looking forward to it. And all of this functionality, it's difficult to develop and program, that's for sure. How does your team sort of make it easy for the end users to not have to understand all that technology and build a user experience that allows somebody to, take all the work that Oak Network is doing and make it into one or two clicks?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's sometimes interesting how difficult it is to make something easy, especially in blockchain and especially going cross-chain. Mm-hmm. But it's something we're really dedicated to. So, for example, that time trigger, I think we always try to make things that are useful at Oak as well. So things that are easy to use but also useful as well. It's no point in having something that's easy if no one wants to use it, right? So the first product that we launched on that Turing network, on the Canary network in Kusama, is auto compounding for our stakers. So it's a proof of stake network. Normally you have to go in, right? You have to claim your tokens. You have to make a bunch of transactions, restake them. But if you think about it, if you can schedule a transaction in the future, maybe once a day, every day, then you don't actually need to log in and do that anymore. So it does a couple things. One, it makes it a much better user experience. I'm very proud of our partners that we're working with on that product. Sub-Wallet and Nova Wallet are two of the leading wallets in the Polkadot ecosystem who have kind of created just a simple toggle button where all you have to do is, you stake and you click auto compound on, or we call it yield boost for that particular product. And then yeah, you're good to go. It becomes considerably more complicated. We have some other partners that we're working with right now. Megata X is a big one. A-Star, Shiden is another huge one that we're really excited about. We're bringing similar functionality there, and it will look the same. It'll look the exact same in terms of like kind of some sort of toggle where you say, okay, auto compound my rewards, but the technology behind it definitely is difficult, especially when you have different tokens getting paid different fees on different chains. But we're happy with the work that we've done, and without laboring the point too much, I think it looks great.
That is great. And so a lot of those partners you mentioned there, I'm familiar with some of them, and they're sort of running similar substrate technology with Polkadot and Kusama as well. I'm curious about the choice behind the underlying technology and what makes it optimal. Obviously there's a lot of, from the beginning, this functionality could be used for all kinds of blockchains like Bitcoin and Ethereum, but it seems like Polkadot and the layer 0 substrate technology works best for this kind of functionality. Maybe you can talk about why it's optimal for the end users for this underlying technology to be the way it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So we did a lot of research. Well, my founder did a ton of research. I did a little bit of research on where to build this and what made the most sense. And the Polkadot substrate technology made sense for a number of reasons. The first one is the modularity, I guess. I suppose, I'm not sure if that's a word, but the modular nature of the substrate system, where you can kind of use Lego blocks for these pallets to create your own blockchain, where we can use a lot of the core functionality that already existed, and then you can kind of use that to bootstrap the new technologies which Oak created. So we added a number of new palettes: automation time, automation price, automation event, and some new transaction palettes as well, to allow effectively. I'll get a little bit out of my comfort zone here and talk deeply about the tech, using two things called the proxy palette, which allows you to create accounts that can act on your behalf, and descend to origin, which kind of proves out the security, such that we can not only have these automation time kind of Oracle functions, but also have these accounts that can kind of act on a user's behalf in an extremely limited manner, right? And it is still your account. It can act on your behalf in the sense that it is your account, right? And that's why we say it's non-custodial, because you're always in control of your coins, you're always in control of your keys, you never have to sign any of that over. All those things combined make the automation possible. And then on Polkadot specifically, because of the shared security and because of the XCM cross-chain messaging system, we can then bring it to other people. So it's two real key pillars there, right? One, we have to be able to build a blockchain, which is very secure, obviously, but also very efficient with its block space for automation. And then we also need to be able to send those messages to other chains so that we can effect transaction on your behalf in those ecosystems as well. And because of that, Polkadot just really made the most sense.
Well, thank you for that explanation and for diving out of your comfort zone. I know the technology can be complex, and even for me as well, being a non-tech kind of founder. So I appreciate that. And when you mentioned there about the automation of the price and the time, one of the use cases that comes to my mind is decentralized exchanges and how they've been growing, but really at the beginning they had limited functionality. You could just do like a spot buy at whatever price is there, right? And who knows what the spread is. You're sort of just going on a whim. I feel like having this kind of automation could greatly increase the functionality of decentralized exchanges as that movement continues to grow. Is that one of the main use cases that Oak could be used for?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one that we're pretty highly focused on for a couple of reasons. One, it's obviously a huge market, and we want to go to where the users are, not try to convince them to use something that, again, isn't useful. But also, I just really believe very deeply in kind of these ideas of being in control of your own money, and we've signed over a lot of that control over the past 50 to 100 years, and this kind of resting back so that people are in control of their own, whether it be their own trading strategies or whether it be their own personal index funds, or just being able to even trade the things that they want to trade, right? Whether it be a specific coin or whether it be some commodities futures that someone puts on chain in the near future, right? It could be anything, but that's absolutely something we're focused on. in the very near term, we'll probably be bringing limit and stop orders to market first, just because they're the most used and the easiest, most straightforward to kind of use our technology with. But dark pool trading, iceberg orders, there's a ton of things that I'm super excited about. Even copy trading, right, with non-custodial manner is something that I'm really excited about. So there's a ton on the horizon for sure with the DEX trading, and I think bringing that experience just a little bit closer towards whatever a traditional Web2 experience is going to be a really powerful step in the right direction for adoption.
Very exciting, David. And yeah, I would love to do an automated copy trading from the best traders in the world. Just have it all automated for me. That would really make life easy. And I feel like this is a great use case for DEX trading, but also I feel like if you expand out to just the greater payments ecosystem and just commerce and paying people or even remittances just back and forth, could this be used for just sort of, not people that are just doing high frequency trading, but just like paying your friends or, your bills and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think about the number of subscriptions that we have today, right? Whether it be Netflix and Amazon Prime or whatever it may be, a lot of these. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I've seen ads for subscriptions that just get you out of your subscriptions, right? It's like, all right, we've really come full circle now. But at the end of the day, a lot of that stuff is really about convenience, right? I don't think anyone's complaining about most of those things convenient. Maybe we could hit the buy button a little bit too often, but that's ultimately on us. And if we could cancel it easily, things would be a lot easier, right? So this puts kind of the user in control of their own subscriptions, and I'm really, really bullish on that, kind of broadly speaking, whether it be from my perspective as a consumer. I think also from content creator perspective, where you always run the risk of being deplatformed, or banking can be an issue in certain industries, like the adult industry, right? And you just don't have access to what you think should be fairly easy to access these days. Once you put yourself back in control of your funds, and your keys, your coins, but also your plan for your keys, your coins is something that we say frequently at Oak. It allows just a huge number of kind of middlemen to be ousted, and that is unfortunate for those businesses, but really great for everyone else who has been having kind of their alpha or their their surplus soaked up by people in the middle.
Definitely, and I feel like as well DAOs, and like as the complexity of DAOs increases and organizations get bigger, actually using DAO functionality, it would be a lot easier to have Oak Network's technology than just like having one guy trying to authorize everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a couple different ways, but even just the idea that if a vote occurs and the funds are automatically sent, very simple things like that, right? Or even automatic notifications of when voting is going on for a new funding proposal. I'm fairly bullish on DAOs in the long term. I think it's a very interesting new way to organize incentive structures. I don't think any of this is what we're looking at as like the final form of anything at this point, but
no.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to have that automation on chain where the DAOs live, I think is a really key component to making them more effective than they have been in the past.
Yeah, I'm excited for the growth of DAOs that are actually functioning like real organizations, and hopefully see some of the larger corporations, in the traditional world, sort of incorporate some of the DAO functionality. And I can imagine they would want some kind of automation like this, or else it's not going to happen because it gets complex. So I was looking through the Oak Network's technology, and I saw that there's like the Oak Network, and then there's a Turing network as well. And I'm curious if you can explain the difference and how they work together.
Yeah, for sure. So we kind of have if you check out the website, oak.tech, you'll see that there's a standard progression of releases, and that'll always be from kind of local testing environments, then up to the kind of cross-chain test nets. Like Rococo is a big one, and Moonbase Alpha is Moonbeam, where we just launched. So excited to start testing with them on their testnet as well. And then you'll see it go to Turing. And Turing is that Canary network that I talked about that's live on the Kusama ecosystem. And we have a number of connections there with some large partners, including Shiden, which I mentioned before, as well as Vengata X, where we're going to be launching those auto compounding features. And you'll always see things there first. It's kind of a lower level of economic security, meaning that there's less money tied up in the chain, but it is a way for us to test in real life production whether things are working or not. So there's a number of taglines. Expect chaos is one of them for Kusama. But if you think about Oak as kind of the enterprise level where you'll get the highest level of security, it's been vetted throughout multiple stages along the lines that I just mentioned with kind of our highest grade enterprise partners. I think that's often the way you'll be able to think about the two different networks. So if you want the latest, the greatest, the newest, and you're willing to take a little bit of risk, or maybe you're not using that much money yet and you just want to see what's going on, highly recommend the Turing network. If you are a Fortune 500 company or a Visa or a MasterCard and you're looking to partner with us, then it's probably more likely that you're going to want to stick with Oak.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thanks for that explanation. And yeah, some of these companies that are on the forefront of innovation, like some of the ones that have launched on the Substrate network as well, that are really bringing more innovative solutions into DeFi. I feel like that's obviously great to have that double two networks. So maybe you can dive a little bit more into those partners, because I've heard their name a bunch. I know that they had successful like parachain offerings with Shiden and Mangata, and I understand that they're in finance. But can you talk about exactly the relationship between Oak Network and how that helps these finance platforms, and then if there's anything that expands outside of Substrate and to the greater DeFi or Web3 ecosystem?
Yeah, absolutely. Big question, so I'll try to keep it to the highlights. I'll start with our first cross-chain partner, which is Mangata X, and we're really excited about them. They built a new Substrate chain similar to we did, but really hyper-focused on capital efficiency and basically removing MEV. I won't pretend to be able to speak about their tech nearly as deeply as ours, but we've been big fans of them. We really like their idea quite a bit. We think they're going to attract quite a bit of liquidity. So that's where we first listed our token, and that will most likely be where our first auto compounding launches. And just to speak a little bit to those technical difficulties one more time, there's quite a bit that I think anyone who's had LP rewards know. Like, you get the token out, then you need to swap a certain amount, and then you need to make sure you buy the LP token and put that back in. So we've done that all in the background for you, just the same way you would if you think about investing in an ETF, right? When if a dividend gets kicked out, it's automatically reinvested. It's the exact same thing that you have now, which is again just a convenience thing that we think is really important, but allows people to have a better experience, and I think one that really people deserve in Web3. The Shiden integration is a little bit different. That's the Canary network of A-Star. Really proud to be working with them as well. Really just absolute leaders in the space. I think the most exciting thing about A-Star and Shiden is that they're a smart contract platform, of which there's a couple, but my favorite thing that they've launched recently is something called XVM, and that innovation is really special because it allows different virtual machines to be translated to each other. So in the past, it's been very difficult for an Ethereum virtual machine to connect with Ink or something based on Substrate, but they have a palette now that allows you to, there's that word palette again, that allows it to translate effectively, so that once we're hooked up with Shiden and we're doing the auto compounding for their DApp staking, any smart contract developer in the world really who wants to deploy something on that network because they want access to time automation will be able to do so in any language that they want to write the smart contract in. And I think when I think about the future of Web3 and the power of it, it's like, yeah, I can go somewhere and do anything I want. That's really kind of special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And I'm going to look into those platforms again. I keep hearing their names, and I feel like it's a great add-on to have this automation inside of them. And 2023 has been a great year so far for cryptocurrencies. So definitely time to look into some of these innovative projects. So thank you for that alpha. Now, more on the future of the growth of the Oak network and some of the plans for 2023. I'm curious, what are the next steps or major releases that you and your team are working on?
Yeah, for sure. So a lot going on. Obviously, first things first, stay tuned for that launch of the Oak network. There will be some sort of public something, right? With some sort of or sale or something like that gets attached to that launch. So that'll be happening very soon. But in the meantime, really focused on getting those first few features launched on the Turing network. So Mangata's in the pipeline. Shiden is in the pipeline. Like I said, we just launched on Moonbase Alpha, which is the testnet for Moonbeam, where we have a couple of really strong partners in Moonwell and Stella Swap that we're just kind of opening conversations with but we're really, really excited. They've managed to attract quite a bit of TVL in the ecosystem. We've talked to their teams. We think they're very strong, have really great backgrounds, and bringing that automation functionality to the EVM leader in the space is really great, because obviously, like I was saying before, there's kind of ethos here at Oak where we want to go to where the people are and meet them where they are, not try to force things down people's throats if they don't believe in it. And EVM is great. I'm a converted ETH maxi from back in 2017, so being able to bring these features to EVM projects, which they wouldn't be able to get literally anywhere else in the world, I think is going to be a really fun time as well to just kind of expand what EVM means and what EVM can do. So there's quite a bit on the horizon. Obviously, price triggers I've talked about, that'll be launching this year as well. And other than that, I'm always a little bit loath to give strict timelines, but there's a lot going on. We're really excited about it.
Yeah, no, I can see why, and it's so complex with the business development that I know your team's going to be working hard regardless of when the time is, because this is a long game. To build the future of finance, it's not something that's done overnight.
No, it absolutely isn't, but it is a lot of fun.
That's good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And now, obviously, this technology is very beneficial to Web3 as a whole, and it's needed. It's just a matter of the implementation and having a user experience where people understand the value and are able to utilize it very easily. What do you think are going to be some of the key factors to success as you continue to grow and launch out the network to ensure that Oak Network is a success, inside and outside of Web3?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of factors. As an infrastructure project, really more than anything, the growth of Web3 broadly kind of helps us, which is great, because whenever we, do tokenomics discussions or people ask me about the price or something like that, it's always hard to say, because the more that happens on chain, the more valuable we become. And I think there's a lot of other interesting projects out there like that. So the growth of Web3 is really key to this success. But as far as challenges, like, it just always feels like we need more time. And that's not to say that, like you were saying, we're not working or that it's that because things aren't happening quickly. They are. Yeah. But there's no kind of limit to the speed that I'd like us to move at. There's no it's never too early to bring the big banks down, right? So not that I'm trying to be antagonistic, but mostly just speaking to the point that there isn't really a limit to how much I believe in this level of innovation, and the more time, the more people that we can get involved and interested, the happier I'm going to be. So that's a lot of my job as the chief of growth is to make sure that people are interested in what we're doing, people believe in what we're doing, and that we get those resources from everyone, from developers in other countries to people like yourself to take the time to speak with me. The more that happens, the happier I'll be, and I think the better things will be for us.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate your time, David, because these insights are very valuable, especially people that are getting into DeFi platforms, near the beginning and understanding how they're continuing to grow out. And you talked about it a few times, earlier in the interview, just about owning your own assets, having a decentralized finance where you're able to not just control your assets, but do more things with them, right? And that's where automation really comes in and adds value, besides having to do everything manually and the hard way. I'm curious on your vision as to how DeFi will continue to grow out, and with technologies like Oak Network bringing automation and extra utility to DeFi, how you see DeFi looking as an industry, 2 to 3 years or more from now.
Yeah, I have very kind of aspirational views about DeFi and what it means. I think a lot of this really just kind of revolves around freedom, and freedom in the sense of choice and being informed, because if you don't know about something, you can't do it. And if obviously if you're legally bound or something, then you shouldn't be able to do it as well. If the incentives are so strong one way that it's unreasonable, that you're not free to do that thing. And broadly speaking, I think people deserve more choice, more freedom, more information. I think that's where DeFi is headed. So when I talk about copy trading, it's not just the idea that, I can make a bunch of money. It's that you get to have the information of what the top traders are doing. You can follow along with them if you choose to. And if you choose not to, because of anything from financial to moral obligations, you don't have to, right? But right now it can be very difficult. I think there's interesting, I was on one of these Twitter spaces and one of the people in the ecosystem gave this example that if you wanted to create an ETF of bakeries on the East Coast, you couldn't do it yourself. There's no real way to create that investment vehicle. But on blockchain, it's not that difficult, especially if there's a bunch of bakeries on the East Coast that have collateralized debt with something like centrifuge, right? There's a ton of different ways that this thing can go, but ultimately, I think, and it's kind of shown out thus far that as long as you're headed in the direction to give people, broadly speaking, more options, more availability to information, and really the ability to transact in a way that makes sense for them, their family, their risk profile, however we think about DeFi or Fi in general, I suppose, you're probably on the right track, and that's the track that I try to keep Oak on.
Mm-hmm. Amazing, David, and great example. The potential is limitless when this branches out beyond finance to other industries. I'm really going to see. I'm really excited to see. Just the value that it brings to people that had no idea about this technology. It's like it's the next internet. It's like when people didn't realize the potential the internet had to unite the world, and I feel like this technology will do that as well. So thank you for being a part of it. What is the best way for people to follow along with the updates for Oak Network, to learn more about the Turing Network, the partnerships you have, and towards the launch?
Yeah, so all the usual suspects, I suppose. The website is oak.tech, TECH, so fairly easy to remember, and we've got all our links to everything that I'll mention there, but I'd say our Twitter is very active. We have a really cool Discord community and a couple guys managing that with a bunch of ambassadors and ambassador programs. So if those types of things interest you, definitely come check it out. We have a Telegram group. We have Oak in Espanol, just launched late last year, so really excited about that, as well as a bunch of different language channels and different language groups in Telegram as well, and Discord. So there's quite a few places to come check us out. I always say, I leave my DMs open. That probably won't be true forever, but today it still is. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us. We're here to help. We're strong believers in our community and really like trying to stay as transparent as possible with everything that's happening at Oak. So come hang out. I promise we're fun. I try to keep this particularly fun because sometimes infrastructure can be kind of particularly dull. So it's a fun community.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, David. I will leave those links in the description box below as well to make it easy. All the best with everything moving forward on Oak Network and the launch, and I'll be following along, and let's definitely follow up in the near future.
Yeah, would love to, Ashton. Thanks for having me on. Hi to everyone out there, and thanks again.